What's up everybody, Nate here, and from inflation to a debt crisis and now a full-on banking crisis, it looks like the entire economy is falling on top of all of us, and how do I put this lightly, most Americans are screwed. Now the reason the vast majority of Americans are financially ruined in 2023 is because the vast majority of Americans were taught about money the wrong way. Money is just a tool to help us get the things that we want in life, but like any good tool, you have to know how to use it. It doesn't just work on anything. Like, you can't take a hammer and try to hammer in a screw. It's not going to work very well. Let's try anyway. So today I want to talk about the things that are financially screwing Americans in today's economy and how you can potentially unscrew yourself in 2023. So the first thing I want to tackle here is that Americans are taught wrong about money, and me being a millennial, I understand this pretty much better than anyone. I was taught growing up that I needed to sort of climb this big long ladder in order to see financial success. It started at school. I have to be really determined so I can get really good grades. I have to get really good grades so that I can get into a really good school. I have to get into a really good school so that I can get a really good job. Once I get that really good job, now I can go up the ladder and get an even better job and get promotions. And that is how you see financial success in the United States. And this is something that is definitely true, and I think is very important for people growing up to hear. You have to have good motivation and you have to work hard at something in order to see success at anything. But working really hard and making a whole lot more money is not the sole solution to becoming financially successful and wealthy in your society. Look at the most successful people across the world. How many of them have full-time 9-to-5 jobs? Very few. No, they are business owners. They either started a business or they are investors who currently own businesses. So not only did they have a skill where they climbed the corporate ladder, they also worked to own the corporate ladder. And that is not taught enough in financial education or in school. Your 9-to-5 income creates what you are going to be able to invest with. So you have to work towards something and you have to get a really good paying job. But that is not enough in today's economy in order to retire or get all of the things you want. You also have to work to own the corporate ladder by becoming an investor. You have to invest in something if you want your money to grow. My generation is really important to America right now because we are reaching our earning potential and our greatest working years. So now we are becoming the population that is going to be doing most of the heavy lifting when it comes to the workforce. But the problem is, if we don't do anything beyond that, we're not going to have enough money to spend and put back into the economy or to better ourselves or our communities or anything for that matter. Our earning potential is going to be wiped out, which means there's going to be a lot less spending and there's going to be a lot more economic improvements that we can have, which is why it is so important to understand how the system works, and it is so important to not only work hard at something and be dedicated and get a really good job, but also to invest, and while you climb the corporate ladder, to also try to own the corporate ladder by investing. The second thing that is sort of keeping Americans and millennials and Gen Zers down in today's society is their debt. Americans are pretty much more in debt than they ever have been in American history because of things like inflation and wages staying down and things like your house and a car getting a whole lot more expensive. But that doesn't necessarily have to mean that you need to go in debt too. The average car payment in the United States right now is a little over $700, so Americans are spending the majority of their paychecks on their car payment. And housing values and housing prices and housing payments have also gone up across the board in the United States, meaning Americans are spending a whole lot more on that. Now, car prices typically don't always go up in value, but they have over the last couple of years because of microchip shortages, which created supply shortages of vehicles, and we also had really low interest rates and stimulus getting pumped into our economy. So Americans purchased a ton of vehicles over the last couple of years and really stretched their finances because they felt like they had more, especially in 2021 when we had things like the Great Resignation and businesses were giving out huge raises. Now all of those raises are kind of going backwards because people are getting laid off. Not only that, but Americans are realizing that they may have bit off a little bit more than they can chew, and repossessions for vehicles are going up. That means people are defaulting on their loans and the bank is taking back the vehicle as collateral. The bottom line here is that Americans are spending a lot of money on their car payment. And then, like I said, over the last couple of years, Americans have bought a lot of houses for basically the same reasons, right? Demand was really high, sparked by stimulus, and the Federal Reserve lowering their interest rates down to 0%. So that meant that many people went out and bought houses houses, but we didn't have a huge housing supply spike because there wasn't enough materials in order to buy homes. And now in 2023, they're kind of having a difficult time selling homes because interest rates are so high and people don't have the incomes in order to afford a home right now. But people who are living in a house right now are kind of having culture shock because they're realizing that a house is super expensive and not the investment that the bank and the real estate agent had sold them. Cars don't typically go up in value. As soon as you drive them off the lot, they typically go down in value, and the only reason they have been going up is because of certain economic conditions. That's not going to last forever. Meanwhile, you are stuck in a car that is $700 plus a month every single month. And if you combine that with a housing payment that is basically the rest of your income, now Americans don't have the money to go out and spend like they used to, which means they're not saving as much, which means they're not investing as much. And that is a huge problem for our economy in general. Not to mention, cars are expensive. As soon as you drive them off the lot, you are responsible for fixing them and pumping gas into them or charging them or whatever you need to do. They are an expense. Your house is pretty much the same way. If something breaks, you have to fix it. If you want to improve something, you have to go through the process of doing that. And of course, you have taxes and insurance going up on houses as they go up in value every year. So people are now realizing that the money they made when they bought the house 2, 3, and 4 years ago, now they need to make a whole lot more money because expenses are going up and taxes and insurance are also rising, and your house really hasn't changed that much. Now, here's how understanding the system and knowing what to do with your money really plays a huge role in your life, because at this point, many Americans would do what they've always been taught: go into debt to get the next thing. Many Americans couldn't afford to go to school. I know that I had to take on student loans because that is what I was taught. School is an absolute necessity, so you have to take on loans. You have to get further in debt. Next, you have to go into huge debt to get the car you want. Next, you need to go into huge debt to get the house that you want, right? Listening to other people, like your broker, like your real estate agent, like the school who's trying to sell you a degree, this makes them a whole lot richer because you are taking on hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and you have to pay this debt back. Meanwhile, you are getting a whole lot poorer. So now is the time where you can kind of switch the entire system off and do something different. And that all comes down to knowing how the system works. That is going to become increasingly more important in our new economy because the economy that existed 10 and 15 years ago doesn't exist anymore. That low interest rate environment is gone. The Federal Reserve is now raising interest rates aggressively, and interest rates are higher than they were even before the 2008 crash. So an entire generation like Gen X and Millennials and Gen Z who grew up in this low interest rate, heavy spending and heavy convenience economy, well, that is all changing. Inflation is never going away. It might come down a little bit further, but it's not going to go away in our economy, which means we're going to have a problem of you needing to make a whole lot more money in order to buy all of the same things. The value of the dollar is not what it was 10 years ago. It's a whole lot lower. And who's to say when we have another major catastrophe like a pandemic or something else in our society, the Federal Reserve doesn't just print a whole lot more money. That is always a risk, and you need to be prepared for that. Many Americans go after their job. They say their job needs to give them a raise because of all of these crazy economic situations, because the value of their money is going down. But what you need to understand is something called fiduciary duty. Fiduciary duty is who somebody is obligated to take care of financially. You are financially obligated to take care of you and your family, but a business is financially obligated to take care of who owns it. That is why you need to try to not only work up the corporate ladder, but to own it, because now you are working, but you're also getting a pay cut from that ownership. But at the end of the day, your job is never going to pay you what you think you are worth, so you have to do something else. And that is something that many Americans fall into time and time again. They put responsibility and blame on someone else, but at the end of the day, it is up to you to do more. And because of all of the issues that we're having with layoffs related to the Federal Reserve raising interest rates and a lack of spending, that is creating situations where AI is taking over. Automation and AI are taking over our economy, and that's going to lead to a lot less jobs in the future as well, which is all kind of pointing towards less spending. Businesses are not going to have as much money to spend, which means all of those big raises that existed over the last couple of years, they are gone. They're taken away by AI, and layoffs and unemployment could ultimately rise. Businesses don't have any additional money to spend. And like I said, if you don't understand how money works, if you don't understand how the system works, then you are always going to become a victim of that system, taking on more losses and more debt because that is all you know. But what I'm saying is that there is a different way. So now, what exactly can you do, right? What exactly can you do to subvert this entire system and get ahead in today's economy? Well, the first thing many Americans try to do is make more money. They look at their finances, they realize I'm in debt. If I just made a little bit more money, then all of my problems would magically disappear, but it's not that easy. If you don't know how to manage $100 today, then I can guarantee you, you won't know how to manage $100,000 down the road. So you need to learn how to manage your money today, so that way when you get money, the chances are a lot better that you'll actually keep it. What I always tell people is it's a lot harder to make more money, but it's a lot easier to just cut your spending. So you want to reduce your spending before you try to go out and make more money. And the easiest way to do that is to create a budget. You can go with something as simple as the 75-15-10 plan. So this basically says that every dollar that you earn, 75 cents of it is going to go toward all of your spending. So this is for needs and wants. Whatever you want to spend your money on, everything that you need goes into that 75 cents. The next goes towards investing. You're going to start investing your money on a consistent basis. And then the last 10 cents goes into savings. Now you have a financial plan. You know where every single one of your dollars is going every single time you get paid. And that is a financial system that's going to help you beat the system over time. Obviously, this is going to be different for everybody, right? Not everybody's going to be able to allocate just 75% of their income. It's going to be different for you, but this is just a baseline for you to start creating a budget. And you might have to make some sacrifices here. You're going to have to look at things that you really absolutely need and can't live without versus things that you simply just want. You need a car in order to get to work, but you don't need to drive to work in a Lamborghini. You need somewhere to live, but you don't need a 10,000 square foot mansion. It really just comes down to needs versus wants. Next, you've got to invest your money, because investing not only beats inflation, but it grows your wealth over time. And I'm not just saying invest in any old thing. Not every investment is going to make you money. In fact, there are lots of risks when it comes to investing, and you are almost guaranteed to lose money. But the whole goal is that you invest responsibly and make more money than you lose over time. Always do your due diligence when you invest, and never listen to a random guy on the internet, because honestly, we have no idea what we're talking about. Like I said, investing in itself has risks. You might get a return on your money, but that return might get eaten away by inflation. But at the end of the day, you are left with something when you invest your money rather than nothing. It's better than doing absolutely nothing, because you know it's going to happen when you do nothing, but there might be a chance that you could make more if you invest your money. It's not going to be perfect, but something is better than nothing. And then finally, plan ahead and stay up to date with everything that is going on in the business and financial world. Financial education is key here. You have to know what to do with your money and when to do it. You have to have some sort of financial plan, because if you don't, you will never reach financial independence. You will never have that financial freedom because you don't know what is going on with your money. And like I said, you need to know how the system works. When you go to buy a car, the car salesman wants to sell you the most expensive car possible, because that puts more money in his pocket to better his own wealth. Just like when you go buy a house, the banker and your real estate agent, well, they want you to get the biggest, most extravagant house that you can possibly afford, because the more money you spend, the more money they make. Meanwhile, with both of these decisions, you are just getting more poor. Understand that your mortgage broker and your banker and your real estate agent and the car salesman are not working in your favor. It is not their job to educate you. It's your job to do that. So if you want to make the best financial decisions possible, then you have to understand how money works. And then finally, you need to stay up to date with everything that is going on in the business and financial world. I'm talking what is going on in our economy, what is going on with this Federal Reserve that I've talked so much about in this video. All of these things affect your money, so you have to stay on top of them if you want to make the best decisions possible with your money today. If you want a really, really simple and easy way to do that, our team puts together a free daily newsletter, and you can subscribe to it by clicking the link in this corner right here. Now, I'm talking about everything that is going on in the business and financial world, and also breaking down a lot of financial education topics. So if you want to stay up to date with everything, be sure to subscribe before you go. And if you're looking for more from me, I've got another video right there, so be sure to check that out before you go. That is it for me, everybody. Be kind out there, and I'll see you all in the next one.